Good morning, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Himig Undaya, the St. Teresa's College, Quezon City Alumni Association Chorale, with their song, We Are an Offering.
Prayer to the Holy Spirit. Come to us, O Holy Spirit. Come one with the Father and the Son. Come to dwell within our souls and quickly make our hearts thine own. Let voice and mind and heart and strength confess and glorify thy name, and let the fire of charity burn bright and other hearts inflame. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Aji Manalos, STAA's Performing Arts Lead. To welcome you in today's event is STAA's Chairperson, Ms. Yai Raventar.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. It's May. It's May, the merry month of May. It's here. It's here. It's Happy Mother's Day, my dears. So, Happy Mother's Day to all the moms, the grandmommies, and our dear ICM sister moms while we were in school. And I'd like to welcome, I believe, some of the high school 2021 graduates are present. They are newly inducted Teresian alumni, mga sis. Welcome. So, the high school 70 class is truly a powerhouse. They continue to inspire and animate our TERE talks. At the forefront are class rep Marisa Go and of course our Teresa's Achievement Awardee Maria Falyarme Ronson, and assisted by Mel Manahan for our graphics. Lending their hands to our second installment of today's TERE Talks are Fe Sesenapa and Maui Yan Aglipay, both from High School 70. Salamat Fe and Maui for sharing your life learnings and for introducing your children, your talented daughters, Aba Sesenapa and Emily Aglipay Villar, to our Teresian family. Now, let me turn you over to our host this morning, Luz Mercurio of High School 82, board member of the STAA, and team lead for our TERE Talks program to make the proper introductions. Mommies of the 70s, your daughters rock, and so do you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome.
Thank you, Yai. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I am Luz Mercurio of STC QC Batch 82. Ang bilis ng araw, no? Just last month, we had the maestro himself on TERE Talks, national artist Ryan Cayabyab. We're all here again for another episode of TERE Talks, and we have thus far almost 100 people online, and we have about 80 nuns in our ICM district houses. We'd like to welcome also all of our beloved sisters in today's event. This is another 2-hour special to celebrate Mother's Day. The core group of STC High School Batch 1970, who is our co-organizer for this event, thought, why don't we have a mother-daughter tandem for TERE Talks? Diba, it's a special bond that mothers and daughters always have. And that's what we'll hear from our guests this morning. Daughters rock and their mothers too, of course. This is a fundraising event for ICM Sisters Feeding Program in partnership with STAA called Pagkain sa Araw-Araw, which High School 1970 has also adopted for their outreach. As of today's guests, we will have 2 daughter and mother pairings. Let's start with the first. The Aglipays are our first pairing. Emeline Aglipay Villar is the youngest child of Maui Yan Aglipay of High School Batch 1970. A lawyer by profession, M is the Undersecretary for Legal Services and Legislative Liaison Cluster in the Department of Justice. She is also the Undersecretary in charge of the Interagency Council Against Trafficking. Prior to this appointment, M was a 3-term congresswoman of the Diwa party list, serving as a member of the House of Representatives from 2010 to 2018. In 2012, M became one of the youngest recipients of the Outstanding Young Men, or TOYM Award, for public service. M, who was diagnosed with lupus nephritis in 2007, created the nonprofit Hope for Lupus Foundation to raise awareness about lupus for early detection and proper treatment of the disease. She wrote 2 books, Living Better with Lupus and Lupus Kayang Kaya Ko To. She is a leading advocate of an Autism Inclusive Philippines and a member of the Board of Trustees of the nonprofit organization Project Inclusion Network, allowing persons with disabilities to maximize their potential. M is married to Mark Villar, the Secretary of the Department of Public Works and Highways. They have a daughter, Emma Therese, who is 5 years old. Now, her mother, Marinette Maui Yan Aglipay, is married to retired General Edgar Aglipay, and they have four children, Elaine, Michael, Mariel, and Emmeline. For 4 decades, while her husband was in the police service, Maui managed the family's logistics and security agency businesses. She turned over the management of the logistics company to their only son, Michael, in 2010. Maui was also active in NGO work for more than 25 years. For her various advocacies in community service, Maui was given an Ulirang Ina Award by the National Mother's Day and Father's Day Foundations Incorporated in 2000 and honored by the St. Teresa's College Alumni Association with the Teresa's Light Award in 2010. Next, we have the Napas as our second pairing. Abba Napa, the eldest child of Fe Napa, also of high school batch 1970, is an entrepreneur, multi-awarded restaurateur and advocate for sustainable restaurant practices in the country. In 2012, Abba co-founded the Moment Group, one of the most prolific restaurant groups, opening one restaurant every 57 days and overseeing 12 brands and 48 restaurants in and out of Metro Manila. Pre-pandemic, ABBA leads Moment's creative development wing and drives the incubation and innovation of the company's brands, concepts, and products. Among the Moment Group's brands are Manam, Eight Cuts, and Uma. They also own the Philippine franchise of the award-winning global brand Din Tai Fung. Outside of Moment, ABBA sits on the board of WWF Philippines Next Generation Council, where she is responsible for promoting sustainable restaurant practices in the F&B industry and the board of Resto PH, the industry's newly formed association, whose membership of F&B businesses represents now over 1,000 doors nationwide. ABBA was named Restaurateur of the Year by the Esquire in 2012, one of Go Negocio's top Filipino entrepreneurs in 2016, and one of Tatler's 50 Young Game Changers shaping the Philippines' future in 2017. Prior to entering the restaurant business, ABBA founded the largest retailer of casual footwear. Now, her mother, Fese Senapa, is a CPA by profession, but became a full-time wife and mother when she joined her husband, Ermil, in their various foreign assignments for the accounting firm Sisip Gores Velayo for 8 straight years. Fe only had ABBA then. During those 8 years, she dabbled in businesses and undertakings which she said she never imagined she would try, like embassy activities, ASEAN cultural programs, and even a hole-in-the-wall cake shop. Fess said she does not ever regret not being able to pursue her own career as a CPA because her biggest achievements are her very well accomplished children, Abba, Caris, and Marco. Fe is currently involved in her family's modest real estate projects and wood and restaurant businesses. Of course, moderating these two conversations is our host this morning. She's Maria Nympha Falyarme Ronson from High School 1970. Maria is a Teresa Achievers Awardee for 2020. Maria was the Associated Press Vice President for Sales in Asia before retiring in 2016. In this role, she was responsible for all Associated Press international licensing revenue in Asia Pacific. Her commercial achievements include developing the broadcast and newspaper markets for the AP in the region. In 2014, Maria was awarded the prestigious Oliver's S. Grambling Award for Achievement the highest staff honor of the Associated Press. She was the first sole Asian woman to receive this distinction in the awards history. The Gramling Awards were created in 1994 to recognize AP staffers for professional excellence. Maria Ronson is currently co-director of PertLink, an IT consulting firm specializing in technology in hospitality and senior living facilities. Maria studied in St. Teresa's College, Quezon City, from grade school to high school, and graduated with liberal arts major in communication arts degree in Marinol College. Please welcome our host, Ms. Maria Nimpa Ronson.
Thank you. Thank you, Luz. Um, each time you introduce me that way, well, this is the second time that you introduced me. I'm not normally nervous until you introduce me that way. And then all of a sudden my heart's just like beating wildly. Okay, so welcome to our session, Daughters Rock, Mothers Too. And I'm glad that we had chosen two outstanding individuals who at such a young age seem to have found their feet and had the courage and confidence to pursue their dreams. After reading so much of their background, I suspect we are still in for a surprise, and their lives are just beginning to unfold. The pandemic, it seems, took them on a short detour to pause and recalibrate their lives and careers and search for a new perspective on how they will forge ahead. Their drive and ambition to always be the best are reflected in the way they have navigated these COVID months. Now let's understand how these daughters rocked and what roles their mothers played, both as it was mentioned in both introductions of Yai and Luz, are graduates of St. Teresa's College High School Batch 70, in shaping and forming them into these individuals so highly regarded in their own fields. Our format for the next hour will be to get a sense of these powerful women, how they chose their careers, and what drove them. And then we will talk to the mothers and to get a sense of who they are and to understand how they raise their daughters to be the amazing individuals they have become. So first, let me introduce you to Emeline Aglipay Villar, Undersecretary of Justice and daughter of Maui Ian Aglipay. Our first session. If I asked you, what are the three things that excite you the most of your day when you wake up in the morning in your current role as Undersecretary of Justice?
Since I really love the law and I'm very interested about how it works, I'm very excited about checking contracts actually and seeing how these things would affect us in the future, trying to look at different scenarios and trying to see how these contracts would be able to address them or not. So next thing is I also look forward to answering legal questions because a big part of the work that I do is helping the Secretary of Justice, helping the Secretary of Justice draft opinions for questions, legal questions of all government agencies and departments. Sometimes these departments have disputes against each other, and it's the Secretary of Justice that renders opinions on these issues that really range. The topics are really vast. And quite a lot of them are difficult to answer. Some of them are novel questions. So they really, I look forward to them because it sharpens my legal knowledge and the skill also. And the last thing is I look forward to doing more things to help protect children because the other part of my work is the undersecretary in charge of the Interagency Council Against Trafficking, which is the agency, the council is composed of different agencies and we work together to ensure that children and women and the public in general are protected from trafficking in persons. So it goes into prevention, it goes into prosecution, uh, and I look forward to that since our children and women need protection from the menace that is human trafficking.
So one of the things that I had read was that the incidence of sexual exploitation have increased during the COVID months because of financial economic necessities, because of and other factors that may have accounted for it. How are you dealing with that? I mean, during this time, are you monitoring?
Well, you'll be happy to know that since last year when the lockdown was imposed, because it was the ECQ was enforced last year, March, middle of March, and it's been a year, roughly a year since then, a year and a month. And in that year, we've had the most number of rescues, rescue operations, entrapment operations, and victims rescued, number of victims rescued in the history of the trafficking in persons law. So another thing is that we've had the highest recorded convictions in online sexual exploitation cases in the Philippines ever. In fact,
How do you account for that? I mean,
because
why?
we really took it to heart that we will, since there was an increase, and despite the pandemic, the health crisis, we will intensify our efforts. And at first, it sounds like okay, sure, you're saying it, but where are the results? And now we have the results to prove it that the operations increased, the victims rescued increased, the convictions increased by 117%. So it more than doubled during the pandemic, and we've really been so tough on perpetrators of online sexual exploitation of children since we've been tagged as the global hotspot for online sexual exploitation of children in the world.
If you look back at the past year, since I'm looking at what is a year? A year is from March when COVID first struck, and until now. If you look back, is this the one that you would say was the thing that you are the most proud of the things that you have achieved during the COVID months? You look
Work
back.
related, I guess. Work related, yes, because I'm really passionate about children's rights, protecting children, protecting women and women's rights. And I would say that being able to make it a safer place for children to live in, making them feel more protected, and rescuing more children from their abusers is a big thing to me.
Okay, now the one thing I wanted to actually do this towards the end, but I think your life narrative has revolved around the fact that you are a lupus survivor. Okay, I mean anything, whenever there is a feature about you, it's always mentions this, and I will quote a question that was asked you in one of the articles that I read. The journalist asked you, do you suffer from fatigue, recurring low-grade fever, rashes, itchy lesions, discoloration of fingers and toes, chest pain, shortness of breath, painful joints, gastrointestinal problems? And you said all of the above.
That's true. Yes, all of the above.
So how do you function whenever you have your lupus flares?
Well, actually, I just had a flare recently, and I wouldn't say that I'm fully recovered, but I don't know. I just don't mind it. I just don't mind it.
No, I mean, okay. So some people, I mean, some of us we have a headache. Some of us have, a toothache, and it's so difficult to concentrate on what you're doing. It's hard to get focused, but you have this high powered job and you have such a big responsibility to achieve and to, to accomplish something, great things. How do you push that physical pain and physical discomfort away, and for you to concentrate on what you have to do?
Well, if it's really painful, I wouldn't be able to if there are times when I really can't work, but it hasn't happened in a while. There are times when I'm really sick, just like any other human being, that I really cannot work. I have to be absent. But if it due to lupus, not really due to lupus. But if it's lupus, it's a matter of management. So a lot of the symptoms, like all those that you've mentioned, uh, they can be avoided. Uh, but if they're there already, then you have to manage it. If there's pain, then you have to take pain medication. Um, like if you have a headache, you take paracetamol. Just like that. I just don't mind it. What I mean when I just don't mind it, I just take something for it and then I just go on and work.
Yeah. So did you have this lupus when you were a child, or did it just appear when you were 27 years old?
Well, I would say that a large part of the symptoms related to my lupus, I all came out when I was 25.
Right.
But I've been anemic ever since I was young. And I don't know if that has any connection to my lupus, but a lot of the symptoms came out when I was 25.
Right. Okay. I have to say I admire you for that, especially, and I've seen pictures of you doing headstands and doing splits and all that, and pushing your body in ways that many people wouldn't, um, who are perfectly healthy, but that's just because you've always wanted to be fit and healthy. Is that why? Yeah, it's a lifestyle issue.
Even before I was diagnosed with lupus, I've always been active, and in fact more before, because I could be under the sun. Now it's not advisable for people with lupus to be exposed to the sun. But before,
Right.
I was really active. So I didn't want to change my lifestyle and the things that I love to do just because of my lupus. So I still continued. But I do recognize that there are some limitations because of my illness.
Right. Okay. Now I'm gonna push forward and ask you another question. Um, you seem to have been driven at so young an age. In grade school, you were an honor student. In Saint Scholastica, you were, and again, you graduated. No, no. In again, you graduated with high honors. In La Salle, you were magna cum laude. Then you took Bachelor of Laws, and then you took Masters of Law. And you've always been driven to do something. Where did that come from? Because even in grade school, you were already motivated to achieve. Where did that come from?
I don't know. It's just the personality, I guess. I always challenge myself to do more. I like doing a lot of things at the same time. I like uh, yeah. As far back as I can remember, I like reading a lot. I like studying. A lot of people don't like studying, but I enjoy it actually. I enjoy studying. I enjoy.
Okay.
It's hard for some people to just sit down and read for like
But
6 to 8 hours, but I enjoy that. I like that.
but then you became president of the student council. I mean, you were very active as well. You were not just studying. You were also doing all
Because I
these
like
other.
doing a lot of things. I like doing a lot of things. I always have a lot of things in my plate, which has its disadvantages. So, I've been living a high stress life for almost my entire life. But I guess it's part of the personality to try to do as much things as I possibly can. with the time given and with the limitations of my body.
Okay. Now, something that I have been intrigued about. You are the sort of person that gives me hope because of you, someone like you being in government. I mean, one tends to have a stereotype of government officials, okay? Yeah, and you do not embody any of that stereotype image that many people have of a government official, okay? You would have been kicking ass in the private sector, and I would have thought that that would have been a natural progression for you considering everything that you've done. But you had chosen politics, and then now you're an undersecretary of justice. Why didn't you decide to stay in a private law firm, become, own your, or be a partner and everything else, and then instead you chose this path?
Ever since I decided that I wanted to take up law, which is when I was in high school, I really wanted to go into public service, not necessarily in government. So it could be, well, I was planning then to go into human rights law, but more into the NGOs, or the NGOs. And I wasn't able to do that right away, but I guess it was influenced largely by my parents, who have devoted their lives to being of service to the public in one way or another. So when I was young, I would always see them, uh, whenever, however way that they can help the public, they do that. When there's a typhoon, there's a calamity, they would always be there, personally organizing relief drives. When there's uh, they're part of and even lead organizations that cater to the vulnerable sectors, and that's how I that's what I was exposed to growing up. And even like being studious, which was your question earlier, my sister was a big influence to that, and also in a way my brother, because my sister was very studious. She was always at the top of her class as well, and also she would compete in competitions, in academic competitions. And my brother and I both went to LaSalle and for college, and he was the one who would always push me to achieve a certain goal. Like he would say, "Oh, you should make this your goal. You should make your goal to be first honor dean's list for your entire for all the semesters of your entire stay." And so I did. So he was saying that he was also giving other goals for me. Oh, it's good that if you can get this. And I didn't really have the consciousness about those things entering into college, but he was the one who actually directed me towards that.
Well, you're a family of achievers. I'm going to be asking your mom later on. I mean, you have not just, each one of you have not just become a mediocre person, or, I mean, you've all exceeded any parent's expectations, I think, and of course, it's a big reflection on your parents, because I mean, I know your parents very well, or your mom anyway. I know her very well, so I do understand that. But if you were, what would you, because we have, as I said to you earlier, we've got high school students, third and fourth year high school students who are with us. What would be your advice to them at this point in their lives, and especially with this pandemic around us? How do give them something that they can take with them from this conversation that
Well,
could help them?
okay. I think that one, you should always pray for God's will to manifest in your lives, because there will be a lot of things that will happen in your life that you did not plan, that you don't want to happen. Uh, maybe even some of your worst nightmares would happen. And it's always prayer that will get you through it. So that's one. And
Lance will be very happy with that answer.
number two is that you should do what you love and what makes you happy. In my own life, you know, I try to please my parents as much as I can. I want to make them happy and do what they want me to do. But I realized that in the end, I always fall back to doing what I love and what makes me happy. And that's when I do what I love and what makes me happy, that's when I excel. So I think parents, since a lot of moms are also watching, I hope that you would also give your children the way to pursue their passions and to trust them when they say that, you know, even if it doesn't sound so lucrative, that because they love it, they will excel in it, and they you know, their lives will be much happier, they will be more productive doing what they love and what makes them happy.
Okay, and one of the things, sorry, I hope that that provides them with enough ammunition to succeed in life, as much as it has obviously done you well, you know, in the years that you've been. I mean, with your the success of your career, the you know the despite the limitations that lupus has given you, you're still thriving and achieving. And I know that one of your best accomplishments in life, and this is what you have said in interviews, is that now you're a mother of a 7-year-old daughter, right?
Just
She's 7, 6. Oh, she's 5. Where did I see that it was 7? Okay, so she's 5. Her name?
Emma.
Huh? Okay, and so, and then you're married to this amazing man, Mark Villar. And never mind the family connections with on that respect, but the fact that he is the head of the Department of Public Works and Highways, and the wonderful infrastructure that has somehow sprung up in the last years. I would love to be at your dinner table, because here you are, the Undersecretary of Justice, and here he is with what he has been achieving. Do you guys talk about projects that you guys are involved in, and or is it just going, at the end of the day, let's just sit here and not discuss about work?
At the start, we never talked about work, but we both love our work very much. In a way, because it also provides us so much stress. We both have high stress jobs, high stress level jobs. So, but it doesn't mean that we can't love our jobs. I mean, that's why we stay in it despite all the stresses. We talk about our work, but of course not the confidential parts of our
Yes.
work.
Just say, I can't talk about this with you. No.
Yeah.
Is that how it goes?
Well, yeah. We both handle some confidential stuff.
I don't know, you're saying, do you do what is it, an NDA? Do you do an NDA before you start dinner?
No, well, Mark and I are very professional also, so we don't really push whenever we know that it's.
Yeah, I can't discuss it tonight, sorry. Yeah, but both of you have been, again, I mean, you both embody, and you have both restored my faith in the government system. For them to have employed the two of you to be doing these important roles in government, I think it has been, you just say, okay, there's something here that's working, and there's something here because the fact that you've both been chosen to do the jobs that you have been doing. I mean, it fills me with joy and confidence. But okay, so now let me ask you, how has your mother played, what role has she played in achieving achieving the success that you've had in your life, in your both personal life and as well as in your professional life?
I think because when I was in grade school, I didn't really have a lot of discipline to really young. I mean, like grade 1 to grade 3. But it was my mom who enforced that discipline to have a schedule, devote X number of hours to study, uh, to set goals. This should be your goal, and when you achieve it, set another goal. So all these things were um, instilled in my consciousness at a very young age, and my mom was always there, growing up, making sure that that we know the value of hard work, uh, that 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 we don't take anything for granted, uh, that and my mom was the one who really taught us how to have faith and pray, and I think that's a very important part of it.
Okay, and I think this is where we bring your mom in. Maui, we're gonna be talking to you now. Okay.
Okay.
You know, it's interesting because in the conversations I've had with your mom, whenever your name comes up in conversation, what strikes me is the sense of pride. Your mom speaks of you with such pride. It is so wonderful to witness. Okay. She's so proud of what you've achieved. And she's always saying she's a survivor. You know, she's so the pride in her voice is amazing. And so, Maui, you've raised
Yeah.
this daughter of yours. What has that been like, raising her and seeing her succeed the way she has? You know, how does it feel to have raised a daughter like this and seeing her blossom in a way, you know, that you probably what has it been like for you to witness?
Well, for me, it's really a great blessing to have children like M. And as you said, I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of all my children. And well, now that Emmeline has accomplished so much, to me, it's a self-fulfillment for a mother to see her child, especially with M, she's the youngest, you know, so for her to blossom as she has, it's really very fulfilling for me. And it makes me really so proud.
Of course, you're no slouch yourself, by the way. Here's somebody who, hang on now, let me just get you were an honor student also in STC High School. You were cum laude in Marinol. You won a Teresa Light Award for all your outreach. I'm not going to list them because there are many. And also, you know, you're forever involved in outreach. You know, so how do you see your life ahead also yourself, Maui? How do you still get involved in the lives of your children in the way you know that you have been before? How often do you see each other now that you know they have their own lives?
Well, with M, my husband and I always visit her and her family at every weekend because of the pandemic, the whole family cannot get together. So we do it individually. We visit our children's homes so that we can also see our grandchildren. So every weekend we go up to Baguio. I do Tagaytay because our special child likes it there. So we make it a point to drop by the house of M and Mark, and we visit them, and we also spend some time with our granddaughter, Emma. So we look forward to that every weekend.
So one of the questions there were some advanced questions that were thrown my way, by the way, because one of the people who are part of the STA committee is a teacher from in the 3rd and 4th year high school classes. So the question is, have you ever had any fights or arguments? Because the fact that M has lupus, and you know that she shouldn't be having any exposed in any stressful situation. Have you had like tension that had created tension because you would say to her, please do not get yourself involved in this project because it could be not good for your health, etc. Have there been any situations where you've had, you know, it can't have been always, you know, an ideal relationship. There must have been some stress and tension along the way. How
Well,
did you
yes.
deal?
Actually, it happens whenever she gets sick. I get stressed, you know, I get worried. So I tell her, why don't you just resign? Because, you know, it's taking a toll on your health. But, you know, M is very independent minded. As she said, what makes her happy is work. She loves to work. So even if I give her advice, I just let her decide for herself. But at least I have given her my side. I told her that her health is more important than her career or her work. But she said she will just listen to me, but she will not really argue. She will just listen, and then at the end, she will make a decision for herself. So that's how it has been. But whenever she gets sick, you know, I just try to be a mom, you know, like a doting mother to her. I send her fruits and also her favorite dishes just to make her feel better. But I cannot really dictate on her, you know, it's really her life. So ever since she was small, she has been very independent minded.
So Em and is it Elaine is your elder daughter, right? And your son's name, I forgot now. Your son, Michael. The three of them during, you know, when they were in school, they were all achieving always. I mean, they were just. How did you raise these kids to be such high achievers and to love their school, their you know, to devote themselves to their academic life in as much as they have? How did you do that?
Well, you know, I did not really impose on them. I disciplined them in a way that was, well, what I might call gentle way of disciplining them. I do not really, you know, shout at them or spank them, but I do it in a way that but they are very good children, you know. I did not have any problem. They were born to be like Tujus, you know.
Yeah.
My daughters, Elaine and M, I would be the one to get angry because I would tell them, stop studying. It's the reverse because they sleep at around 3 o'clock in the morning. They really study so much. So especially when they have exams, but even ordinary days, it's their schedule really to sit down and do their homework and then make advanced readings. That's really how they were.
Did you do any naughty things at all, Em, in your younger years?
No,
You seem like
no.
an ideal child.
My sister Ella, like she would sneak out, she would party a lot, but me really as in nothing. I don't like going out. Even now, I don't like going out. Like Mark, before we got together, he would probably go out. But when we got together as a couple, I kind of had that influence in him to just stay at home. That's why lockdown, it's no problem with me. I just like staying at home and reading, working.
Wow. And just keeping fit and just doing all that the gym work.
Yeah, I like it that, you know, I like it. You know, I can't explain it, but it's true. My parents would, even my husband, I would study and I would work until like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. I won't sleep. He would really get mad at me that he'd say that my blood pressure would increase again because I'm hypertensive also. So he would say, okay, around 2 a.m. he'd notice I'm not with him in bed. He'd find me. He'd turn off the lights. Let's sleep already. That's enough. Like it's really workaholic. That's really the term for it.
But there must be some naughty things that you get up to, no? I mean, you are so.
Maybe my mom would be, I don't know, naughty things.
What are your you know that you must have some sinful pleasures, as they say. You know what? There must be some things that you do that.
Oh, I remember one thing that she did, which almost turned to be a disaster or fatal. When we were in the swimming pool of our home, and she was only 3 years old, I was in the middle of my two younger daughters, Em and Marielle, our special child. So both of them had floaters. So I divided my time between the two of them. But then, Marielle, she's very sensitive and celosa. So when she saw me looking towards Em, she pulled me towards her and she wanted me to look at her. So I looked at Marielle, but when I did that, I didn't notice that Em removed her floaters. And so she went down underwater, but there was no sound. That's why I didn't notice. And then when I looked back at her, she was already floating on the water, and then she was unconscious.
I contest that account.
So what happened? Because
That was 3 years old. I mean, those things are
true.
really not malicious. It's not
Yeah.
really naughtiness.
Yeah, it was not malicious, but what removing your floaters really made me
Yeah.
so.
I contest that account. I didn't remove it. I think it lost air. It lost
Ganun ba? You see?
Your fault.
to be that plunger. Sometimes,
It was
off with the
removed.
air.
It got loose. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you see.
Yeah. So
Um,
okay. So you're still such an ideal child. There must have been something else that
I
you.
don't know, maybe my parents could give something because I don't remember anything.
No. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, this is gonna be difficult. I was hoping that you will reveal something
Maybe
that
it's
was
my sister
quite.
because she's the one who likes partying and she would go out and with like sometimes exceeding her curfew. But my parents never even had the chance to impose a curfew on me because I don't want to go out.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, sorry. So something that I would like to ask you. I'd like to go back to your career, right? So you guys you're. I'm going back. I'm just to take away the mother-daughter thing. It's something that just I remembered. So you're also dealing with some tricky cases, or delicate cases, or looking at sensitive cases, right? Are you? One of them is. Were you handling the corruption cases, by the way, of 5 agencies within the government? Was that under you too? Were you
Well,
looking?
I am not personally involved with the investigations because
Right.
a lot of the investigations involve DPWH. Some not some
Right.
of the investigations involve DPWH. So I am not involved in those. So I
Okay.
just speak for the department. That's why I'm the one speaking on behalf of the department about those investigations. But I am
Right.
not personally involved with investigating the
Because
agencies.
what I was my next question would have been, um, do you feel secure? I mean, if you were to be handling something that was sensitive or had some people have vested interests, and that you might have been stepping over their whatever it is that they are protecting, their own wealth or their own businesses. You're looking into them. You're not involved in any of that.
I am, but well, I don't want to talk about it because like,
Yeah. No, but what I'm saying is I was more concerned about the security of the family, say, because
oh, okay,
obviously, you will be upsetting people,
yeah,
especially if you would be looking at how these things are being handled. How do you protect yourself? I mean, I don't want you to go into the measures that you're taking, because it is a worry. It would be a worry, right? I mean, it would be a worry for your mom too, I suppose.
Well, my husband takes care of it.
Okay, all right. You've got an armored vehicle outside.
Well,
That's good.
I don't worry about it. I don't know why. I've always, you know, I never really got scared of dying until I had a daughter, you know. Before I would just say, okay, if it's your time, it's your time. Um, you know, even if I get really sick and the doctor always said, oh, you could have died. You were like this close, you could have died. And I'm like, if I die, I die. I just, you know, got scared of dying when my daughter came around, which is 5 years ago. But
Yeah.
as to the my work at DOJ and how I if I'm scared for my security, um, no, because no, because if you think about it, I don't think I don't know. I don't want to tempt fate, but uh, they're intelligent enough. Well, it's like I said, I just don't want to talk about it. But
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
but I don't think so. Mhm.
What do you think, Maui? Because you know the job that your daughter does is quite delicate to some extent, right? I mean, do you worry? No, you don't worry, or you just, as what you say, she accepts, M accepts, and to some extent, I mean, you are very religious, you know. So I guess you both are very religious. So I suppose a lot of that, um, you lean towards that, and to accept that you will be protected, I suppose.
Yes, we just always pray, and we leave it all to the Lord. Because I also live, my husband was also in the service, and his life was always in danger. So I lived with that for a long time. He just retired in 2005. So for like more than 40 years, it was also hard to be married to a military man, but I've learned to accept it, and I just pray very often, and I don't worry so much.
Right. Okay. So, you know, when your mom and I was talking to your mom about doing this session, I said to her, "My God, I will be interviewing two achievers, your mom and you." And I said, "I think I'll be intimidated." And
No,
then you said to me, "Yeah, we're just normal people." Can I just say, just listening to you during the past hour, you're anything but normal. You are exceptional. And you have been achieving since you were really a child, you know, at grade school, through high school, through college, university, and even until now. I mean, you sit in the board of the Autism Society. You're doing all kinds of outreaches as well. Yeah, I'm, you know, I'm sorry to say, but your family is just so amazing, I have to say. And it's been such an honor to have met you both. It's such an honor to have had you at this session. And I'm so sorry that it is so short, because I could still ask. I have a notebook full of questions here, but I thought I'll just choose, because I'm conscious of time and making sure that as I said, I want to keep the integrity of this piece and not to edit little bits so that it would look, you know, sleek. I wanted it to to sound like us. So anyway, thank you so much.
thank you.
By the way, happy birthday in advance to
Thank
both of you.
you.
Happy Mother's Day, because it will be the eve of Mother's Day when we show this program. So thank you so much. It was short and sweet. It was a pleasure meeting you both, and it was a pleasure talking to both.
Thank you. Thank you, Tita Maria.
Okay. Thank you so much. And I hope to meet you in person.
I hope so too, to meet you in person.
Okay. Or earlier, that session was pre-recorded. That was pre-recorded because both Maui and M are celebrating their birthdays, and they're out of town, and we weren't sure that we could get a stable internet connection wherever they are. So we decided to do it beforehand. Now is the time to introduce our other pairing. We have with us Aba Sesenapa, who's the co-founder of Moment Group, and the daughter of Fe Sesenapa. Are they with us?
Yeah.
Could we,
Yes. Yes.
is there any way that we can take
Hi, where
away
you,
the
Abba?
video? Hi, Abba. Hi, Fed. Just a second. Let me just talk to
Hi.
the production crew. Is there any way we can take the video of everybody and just leave me and Abba to start with? Sorry, I should have requested that earlier. It's just that it's distracting to see the other faces. My trend of thought might just go away. Anyway, while they're fixing that and taking away all the videos of everybody except and just leaving me and Abba to start with. As I said, our format will be so that first we will get a sense of how wonderful and amazing Abba is, and then the second part of this interview will bring Fefe Sese. Yeah. Okay, right. So now, Abba, are you with us?
Yes, hello, good morning. I'm with you.
Hi. Now I'm only seeing myself, and that's distracting. Okay. Okay, great. So welcome and thank you very much. I believe that we interrupted an interesting trip from Anilao for you to be with us here.
Not at all. Happy to be here.
Good. Okay. Well, again, as I said, with Maui, your mom is so very proud of you. So we're delighted that you are here with us. Okay.
Having us.
Okay, so let's start with. So you are the co-founder of this group, the Moment Group. Take us through the months. I'll go straight into the interview. By the way, this is kind of the sad part about this whole event is that really all of you here individually should be 1 hour each. Okay, but as a result of time constraints,
with me for an hour.
No, we could talk. I have a notebook full of questions. But oops, I'm sorry, we're hearing somebody else's voice coming in. Okay, right. So as a result, we have to kind of do a 40-minute, 20-minute segment. So you will have 40 minutes of everything about your business and how you became this amazing person. Okay, more amazing person. Sorry. Okay, so take us through the Moment Group. Take us through the heady days of the Moment Group pre-COVID. Would that have been December 2019, the holiday season? You've got a whole head ahead of you. You've got 12 brands in 45 places. You've got 2,500 employees. You have plans. You must have had ambitious and aggressive plans for the future. So take us through those months, when you had, as I said, you must have been planning some wonderful things for the Moment Group in the next year or so.
Wow, that's a big question. I don't remember 2019.
In 5 minutes, okay?
No, I think I think for everybody in our industry, in F&B, in the restaurant industry, 2019 was a banner year. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life since I graduated. Well, I tried to be in the corporate world when I graduated at 20, and at 22 I decided it really wasn't for me. And I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and but not in F&B first, actually, in retail. And in 2010 or 11, we really realized that Filipinos were carving out wallet share, not just to buy anymore like shoes and bags and makeup and clothes, but also they started to spend their expendable income and their hard-earned money on dining out. And they I think everybody started to realize and really enjoy the act of converging and eating out and socializing in that manner. And So it's been a really amazing build up in the last 8 years that we started Moment in 2012, and that I'm not going to say it culminated in 2019, but I think that was one high peak, and I think it was like it was something that the entire industry felt. So it was obviously extremely challenging to be so abruptly faced with
Yeah, no, but no, that's
Well,
COVID
not
times.
yet. Okay, we're not going there yet.
I don't want you to talk
What
about COVID
exciting
times, so
was.
get into that. I just want you to describe how the business was during this period before even COVID came into the picture. Tell us, this business that you built. Tell us about it.
Uh,
I mean, give me the heady days, okay? So,
question. Well, I mean, I have two business partners,
yeah.
who are also very good friends of mine, and we entered the business without knowing really and too much about it. And after we opened our first restaurant in 2012, and 6 months later we ended up opening two more. And we thought at that time that, wow, it's pretty easy to be in this business, right? People seem to like what we're doing, and it isn't too hard to create things. So for the 8 years since we started, we were opening one restaurant. Actually, not every 56 days. We were opening a restaurant maybe every 30 to 40 days at the time. And I was creating new brands for the company, maybe like to the tune of two or three brands a year. So it was very, very busy times for us. I didn't really own my schedule or my calendar. I mean, it would be blocked off maybe a year in advance, and I would just have to carve out weeks within that year where I would tell my secretary to allow me to not have any meetings so I could, dive or go to Anilao or go on holiday. So I mean, it was very, very busy times. And you're right, we had and we continue to have extremely hopeful and big plans for Moment.
You were planning to also open a restaurant overseas, right? I mean, that was one of your plans. You were thinking of.
Yeah, we were talking to a number of different groups in different countries who wanted to bring some of our brands into their countries, primarily our Filipino brand Manam. I mean, there's a lot of OFWs and Filipinos who live in different cities around the world, and there isn't that much choice yet for Filipino food. And the last 2 or 3, 4 years, because of some amazing chefs in our country, and also in America, Filipino cuisine has gotten a bit of a spotlight on the world stage, and we're very fortunate that our Filipino brand Manam seems to be quite well loved. I don't know who's eaten in our restaurants, who are all the 100 people that are here. Hope some of you have and you've enjoyed it. If you haven't, you can tell me about it later so we can fix all of those issues. But so we were very excited to bring our brands outside of the country. I think that was a really important thing for us. And of course, that has been put on pause because of the pandemic. But we look forward to doing that again when our recovery starts, not just for the Philippines, but for the whole world.
What happened? So what happened to that first restaurant that you opened, which is a barbecue? I thought that I would love a barbecue restaurant. What happened to that?
I mean, I think that's a great learning. The name of that restaurant is called Q, and it lived for 5 years. On the fifth year, we realized that the neighborhood had changed, and I think barbecue was becoming a cuisine that was more suited towards neighborhood locations and not mall locations and CBD. So we made the hard decision to convert it to our Japanese restaurant, Uma. And that was a big learning for us. I think it's really important for people who enter the industry to accept the fact that sometimes you're going to have to change your creations and replace it with something else, something that's more suited to the context of the neighborhood you're in. And that's what we did with Q. So
how do you determine what is the thought process in deciding what kind of restaurant you'll open, what kind of menu you'll put together? What is the thought process behind deciding?
I think that's changed for us over the years. We're turning 9 years old this year. And when we started, I was much younger, and we were really creating restaurants for ourselves, our friends, things that we were creating experiences that we would want to enjoy, and so that was always the inspiration. Somewhere we'd been, or food that we couldn't find in the Philippines that we love from other countries. But I think as Moment grew up and became a bigger company, we also realized that we had to stop creating just for ourselves, and we had to be able to create for more Filipinos. And I think that's the driving vision we have today. We really want to create food for as many Filipinos as possible. We want to feed as many Filipinos as possible around the entire country. And now we create for others, you know.
Hmm.
We really look towards our audience. Moment's really lucky. We have a loyalty group, a loyalty program, and it has 50,000 plus members. And we really look towards what they're interested in, what they want, and we try to create things to make them happy. I think at the end of the day, the thing about F&B is that it's funny. My parents said, "Are you sure you want to enter into F&B?" Because my mom had this amazing bakery business when we were living in Kuala Lumpur, and then my dad ended up being a silent partner in this restaurant group in the Philippines because he ate there all the time when we moved back here. And when I said that I finally wanted to enter food, they were like, "There are far easier ways to make a living than being in food, right?" But then I
And
just pointed out
that's
to them,
not true.
far
Were
from the
they right? Were they right, by the way?
well, I think that Filipinos love food, and it's actually not that hard to make a living in F&B in this country, but I think that it consumes you, and therefore there's no division between work and play. It's 24/7, especially if you're an entrepreneur. So I feel like you really must love it, right? But I think the beautiful thing about it is that it's one of those few industries where you what you make a profit out of making people happy, even if it's just for the course of one meal, and they forget a little bit about the worries of their world when they walk into your restaurant and they have a good meal. And I think it's a very honorable way to make a living.
Okay, so then fast forward. I mean, I can sense, obviously, from your tone and from the way you're talking about the business, how much you love it and that you are passionate about it.
And get stressed by it at the same time.
Well, it comes with the territory, as they say, right? So fast forward to March 16, 2020, COVID strikes. Take us to your boardroom. So because it just came out of the blue, right? I mean, it's not something that you knew was going to happen in December 2019, or even when you're planning your budgets for the next year. So take us through your decision making. You closed down for a month, right?
Yeah, well, we really made sure that we were very obedient in following all the government guidelines. And of course, they asked F&B to close. Rightfully so. It was a health pandemic where you weren't allowed to converge because that's what spread the virus. And I think restaurants are all about converging. um, and so we definitely had to shut down, and we understood that. So we did. In fact, we closed our entire network maybe a few days before the announcement because we were also very concerned about our team. I think at the end of the day, you know, F&B is really more about people than about the food. And so that was very important to us. At the time, we didn't think it would become a crisis that would last what I think will be 2 years at least, honestly. So we're halfway through it. And so there was we had no visibility yet over what was happening, so we were just taking it day by day, and it was really about protecting the team who was out every day, serving people.
But you sprang to life after a month, right? So you did the Mogo, you got the supermarket, the Mo grocery or something, and
Yeah, I think the difference with Moment versus maybe um, other players in the industry is that um, we most of our portfolio is created by us in house. We don't Everything is in house. We have a team. We have our own architects. We have graphic designers. We have editors from the publishing industry who work on content with us. We have our own chefs and cooks for R&D. So there's nothing we outsource. We design everything ourselves. We build everything ourselves. And I think that's what's so exciting about Moment is that we're always creating. The only brand that we have that is actually a franchise is Din Tai Fung, which is the Xiaolongbao brand from Taiwan, and it's a brand that we've respected our whole lives, and so we were very very happy that they chose us and surprised that they did to represent them in the Philippines. But beyond that, everything that we have is really has been created from our imaginations, not just mine and Ella and John's, who are my business partners, but the team. And it's a very collaborative space. So it wasn't hard for us to create things during the pandemic for what we felt the Filipino needed at that time, which was food that could nourish them while they sheltered in place. And so that also gave us a lot of hope. So we were doing a lot of that in the summer of last year.
So you brought up Din Tai Fung. I'm intrigued with Din Tai Fung. I look at the three owners, the three founders of the Moment Group. None of you have Chinese names.
Yeah.
Yet you to get Din Tai Fung.
No.
How did you get that? There must have been a beeline for this restaurant to get the franchise. How did you get it?
There were some, I don't know, just kidding. No, there were some amazing people that who were really that we highly respect in the industry, who have been in it for much longer than us, who were also looking at it, and also who also have amazing brand portfolio.
Yeah.
I remember I had met one of them maybe a couple of months after we had been awarded the franchise at a party, at a dinner party, and he was like, "So which one of you three speak Chinese, right?" And Mandarin, and I said, none of us speak it, right? And he was like, well, how on earth did you get it? And I said, I think that's why we got it. I think it's because we didn't speak it, so our interpreter was probably so amazing and changing our answers to the owner, and that's probably how we really won it, to be honest. I mean,
because it was a game changer for you. You said in one of your interviews, the acquiring Din Tai Fung license franchise was a game changer to some extent for the Moment Group. Is that right?
I mean, Din Tai Fung is a 70-year-old business, and in all the countries it is around the world, it maintains a long line to wait to get inside in all countries around the world. I mean, it's an astonishing operation. And when we had first met the owner, which is really really lucky, my business partner Ella had a good friend who was friends with the secretary of the owner in Taiwan, and she snuck us into the appointment book. That's how this happened. And we flew to Taiwan not knowing if it was for real or not, and we met him. And I think, to be a bit serious, and we were only 3 years old at the time. We only had maybe 5 restaurants to our name, and no one knew us. Not that anyone knows us now, but what happened was he came to visit the Philippines and visited different restaurants and our own. And I'm really proud to say that I think it was after he visited our restaurants and had a meal there and met our team, I think that's when he thought, well, maybe these kids could do it, because their team, not just them, consistently try to give the best experience that they can. And he awarded it to us in Taipei. He shook our hands and he said to us, don't let me regret giving it to you kids.
Pressure.
We haven't forgotten that. It's been 5 years, and every year we go back to celebrate Din Tai Fung's birthday there.
And there's always queues. There are always queues outside the restaurant. I mean, not just 1 or 2 people waiting. I mean, there's a whole crowd outside the restaurant.
Yeah, it's an amazing brand, and I think
it's forgive my, because I live in Santa Rosa in West Grove, and I'm far away from everything else. Is it open? Is Din Tai Fung open?
And all of our restaurants are open today. Except
now all your 12 your 12 brands are all open.
Except for our bar. We have a bar called Bank Bar. I don't know if anyone's been.
I want that. Please, can you open that immediately?
We have to wait for maybe we can ask M for help. No, I'm kidding. We have to wait for the government to allow nightlife to reopen.
Okay, so all the restaurants are open now. Oh, that's interesting. And so are there still queues outside your Din Tai Fung despite this?
There are some. On some days there are. As with our other brands, we're very fortunate, but that's also because the seating capacity is very limited. Actually, right now it's 10% our
Yeah.
seating capacity.
How,
So
how do you, how do you, okay, so the bottom line must be affected, because how do you then justify even opening a restaurant if you can't fill it up? Then you can only fill it up X amount each time.
we're opening our restaurants for our employees, really more than anything, so that they can, we can help with their livelihood, which has obviously been extremely handicapped in the last year. And
Yeah.
so, between us, as long as between us 100 thieves here, as long as the restaurants are breaking even, per shop, we really want to make sure they're open so that our team can go to work. I mean, we have 2,500 employees to take care of, and we can. It is definitely not a walk in the park for them. I mean, as much as it's not one for us.
I must admit, I admire what you did during the COVID months when you obviously had to close the restaurants, and then you've got 2,000. You have to put 2,500 people on salary, and then you I think you recognize that you needed to have your own delivery system, because I mean everybody must have been using Lala Move and Uber and everything else, and so they were strapped for riders and everything else, and you employed your chefs and everybody to be your delivery people,
I think
which
it's
is
for that more than anything else. We couldn't have everybody go to work. Obviously, at the time there was no dine-in, so that's over half of the workforce that like waiters and waitresses that really didn't have a role to play, and we wouldn't have been able to do it. So we wanted to help supplement their livelihood. So anyone that wanted to could join the Mogo rider fleet, and we would pay them. I mean, not a commission, but like the other aggregators, but a real salary, and at least help them with their month to month sustenance. So that
so
was
has
really why we did it.
has the um has the takeaway business um make up for whatever losses that you would be making in your restaurants?
No, I think that for F&B and even, I mean, I guess as a side story, I've gotten to become very good friends with a lot of people in our industry who were our competition now, our friends, including McDonald's and Jollibee. And what we realize is that whether you're fast food or high end, over 70% of your business is really dine-in, even if you're Jollibee or McDonald's. So there's no way that you can ever replace, you can ever make up for that with takeaway and delivery. But for the whole industry, not just of the takeaway and delivery businesses, of course, exploded. So it's been very, very helpful, and we can't complain. But it could never compare to what it's like to dine in, right? As is the food quality. I'm sure people know that when you have your food delivered, it's not going to be exactly the same, and we hope people understand that.
Do you do takeaways of Din Tai Fung
Yeah, we do
product?
takeaway and delivery, and we also have frozen xiaolongbao of Din Tai Fung. You can find that in SM supermarkets. You can find that in no, Shell Select for our other brands. We're coming into Robinson's supermarkets soon, so and SNR. So yeah, you can find them in multiple places now.
Okay, so now let me now go back to your past. So you graduated in Ateneo. I mean, you somehow you managed to kind of put a lot of stuff that I was going to ask at the start of the as a sort of a Q&A together. So, but anyway, let me just go back to your past. So I graduated with at the Ateneo for, what was the name of your course now? Communications technology.
Yeah,
And
it
yeah,
was we were the
management.
first batch. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Then from college, you said you worked for a while, but then you then became an entrepreneur almost early on.
Yeah.
You started with the skincare products, then you went into flip-flops, but very posh flip-flops, the Havaianas. It takes a certain mindset for anybody. I mean, I cannot see myself as an entrepreneur. I need to be employed. Okay. But I'm not the sort of person who can just kind of take something and then run with it. But you did at an early age. How do you what's going on in your head for you to have decided that entrepreneurship is what you wanted to do?
Maybe I'm bad with authority, so I have a hard time with the corporate structure. No. Um,
So am I. But
I
anyway,
don't know. I mean, I've always liked business. I remember when we lived in New York, and this is a very bad story. My parents, we were living in New York. It was the 80s, and my parents had a book on their night table because at that time he was big. Then it was called The Art of the Deal. Donald Trump. Before Donald Trump today, right? And I read it, and I was 8, and it talked about him, just starting out on his own and kind of building this real estate empire and doing something he really loved. And I'm not saying that he's my inspiration by any stretch, but I mean, I had always liked the idea of creating things out of nothing, whatever that is, right? And I guess because I'm so influenced by my mom and my dad, and we grew up around food our whole lives, that it just naturally led to food, right? I mean, I wish it had led to tech and creating something like WhatsApp, but no, it was food. So and I don't
okay.
regret.
So then you were in your early 30s, 2012, right? When you started the Moment Group. So how did you get the financing? You were so young. I mean, and then you had ambitious, where did you get the financing of that business? And the reason I'm asking that question is that there might be people in this audience who might want to follow that route. And how do they get the financial backing to start a business? How did you do that?
So Moment is my third entrepreneurial venture that actually didn't die right after I did it. And for the previous two, I asked my parents for help, obviously, but my parents are and I appreciate this so much more now than when I was younger, um, are very strict about that. We're very strict with us growing up. Not in us not having fun, but strict in the serious matters of life. So I remember when I asked for help to start a business, other friends of mine, they were given given things as a gift, but my parents were very smart about it, and it was always they always treated it like a real professional relationship. So it was like a bank, and I was loaning money, right? And I had to pay it back, and I had to pay interest and all of that. And I think looking back, I think that I wouldn't have had it any other way, because my brothers and we I believe we really know and understand the value of work and money. And so it was really, I wouldn't have been able to do it without my mom and my dad's help. And from some of the savings and profits that I had from my previous businesses, we put up Moment, right? And we kind of just like
That's
go.
amazing. That's admirable. I mean, to be able to kind of build a business from whatever you got from the first two ventures that you had, and then, well, a little help from the parents is okay, but then if you're able to roll with that still, and then build this group to be what it is. I mean, you've got 45, you've got what, 12 brands in 45 locations within 9 years. That's amazing. So anyway, so then, okay, so then what happened with you is that you then early on. So I'm just gonna rewind again. So you had I like the posh flip flops, and then you went into your dad's restaurant, L'Opera, and then you got involved in it.
Yeah.
A lot, got burnt out, went to New York, went to a restaurant, the Gramercy Tavern, where you had a rosé and you had an epiphany. I love that story. You had an epiphany where you said you wanted to go into the food and beverage business. Am I right?
Yeah, the reason I went on sabbatical when I was 28 was because I was so burnt out from doing so many things at the same time. So that was the time we were building the retail shops for Habayanas, and I was working also for my dad's restaurants, La Opera. And the only reason I was working for my dad's restaurants was when I started my first my first business. My parents' way of helping me at that time was they would allow me to eat my work week lunches at the restaurants for free. And my office was right across La Opera at the time. I don't know if you know La Opera at the time was right across McDonald's in Greenbelt, and I would just walk every day, and I would get to eat really great food for free, right? Where my business partners had to like order from downstairs in the canteen, and it was just so I would just go all the time, every day, and I would even go at night, even though I wasn't really allowed to get anything for free for dinner. And a couple of years later, my dad was like, you're not anymore like a struggling entrepreneur. So if you want to continue eating for free, then you maybe should do some work for the restaurants. And that's how I started working for the restaurants. And I just was doing too many things at the same time. So I took a sabbatical. And after a year of being on sabbatical, I still wasn't inspired by anything. And that was very rare for me because I'm never not inspired. And I was very worried about what I would be doing in my 30s, right? And yeah, then I walked into Gramercy Tavern, which is owned by one of my favorite restaurateurs who I look up to, Danny Mayer. He also owns Shake Shack. Um, and 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 it was such an amazing overall experience, which is why we call our group the Moment Group, because it was a moment, not just in food and service, but ambiance. And I had to accept the fact that food is really what I love, even though I was really trying to stay away from it because I knew how I know how it consumes your life and doesn't leave you with anything much else. And I guess that was the turning point. And then I went to culinary school after that.
Yeah. So in fact, I took notes of a quote you gave to on the Metro Style on March 25, where you said, I was looking for what what nuggets of advice can you give a high school student or a young person here in this audience who is looking for inspiration and looking for a path to the future. And you had said they need to go for it and know that there are no handouts and that you need to learn to do things on your own, is what you said. I suppose that still holds true. And is there anything else you would add to that?
I think Em said something that is really important, that I really believe in also, and that is that you really shouldn't push away what moves you and what you're passionate about. And obviously, there's some pragmatism that needs to be sprinkled onto that passion, because the passion also needs to be able to hopefully support the kind of life you want to live, right? But for all intensive purposes, it is really much easier to push yourself during the hardest times, in building a career or a business or work, if you are in a space and an industry that really you love and moves you. And I think that's really something that my parents, my mom and my dad, have really, really, they really made sure of that as we were growing up. They really allowed us to pursue what we wanted. And even me, like as a woman, and my I have two brothers. They never said to me, you can do anything you want, just like your brothers. They just said you can do anything you want, because my parents don't know it, but I think they're real feminists, right? A man and I mean, there's no difference between male and female, and you can go out and chase your dreams, whatever your gender. So I think that's one thing that's completely important. But I think the second thing, which I had told a bunch of high school kids once at a talk before, when they asked the same question, is, you know, apart from your family, which you can't choose. So I really am really, especially as I get older and during this pandemic, I think one thing I really appreciate is the family that I have and the structure that we were brought up in by my mom and my dad. I mean, you haven't met my brothers, but they're amazing people, and my sister-in-law. And so I'm very thankful for that. But I think beyond your family unit, which you can't choose, I think it's really important also that you surround yourselves with friends that can be good for you growing up, because I think that's the second biggest influence that you can have. So if you're in high school or college, really have the strength to surround yourself with good people. They don't have to be the most popular people. They don't have to be, and they definitely shouldn't be the mean people. But I mean, really try to find amazing friends, because they will influence you, and they will support you throughout life's challenges and help you push for your dreams. So I think that's really, really important.
Were the two partners in your the moment group, Eliza Antonino and John Sihuko, were they friends, close friends before, or did they just become? Did you just come across them and then you built this business together?
You know, every business I've ever had, it was really a broke. I broke the rules of not having your friends as your partners. My first business was really funny. I had three partners. They were all boys. One was my boyfriend at the time. One was my boss, my ex-boss, and one was my office mate. So that's really breaking all the rules. That's just crazy. But since I got through that, boss and boyfriend, I felt that, you know, friends as partners is fine. And I don't recommend you having friends as partners, but I think that if you have friends that see the world and the same way as you and have the same gumption and vision and more importantly business morals and principles, I think it makes for a much more powerful partnership that they're your friends. So yes, Ella is a very good friend of mine. She's one of my best friends. My parents actually consider her their other daughter. And John has been my business partner since we were 23 because he really is the one that leads Haveanas with my other business partner, and they're really the people behind it. They're because I don't have any. All my energy is with the food business, so they are really truly my friends. We travel together to eat and we disguise it as work, but we really just like traveling together to eat. So yeah,
Um,
fortunate for that.
Looking back then, so the three of you have been together through this, there must have been really difficult times. I can imagine just being in the F&B industry or the hospitality industry in the past year, because it seems like, everything was a no, 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 because, it's very difficult to open a restaurant because there's an ECQ, there's, and the last thing you want is also for your establishment, no matter how you go and follow the protocols, it's just, all it takes is just one person and then you're, you're you're stuck. So if I were, because I know that you've already done a lot of interviews about COVID and how it has affected your business, but on a personal level, what has that experience of having to look after a business for a whole year and having had nonstop challenges being thrown at you almost every month, every day, every moment?
You should ask my parents. Sometimes I'm talking to them on the phone really depressed. And they're like, get up. You can't be, you have to be, you have to be strong, right? So my family is like that. You have to be strong. And I appreciate that. No, it's very challenging. I think the most challenging part of it is, it's not the fact that the business is down and we aren't making the revenue that we need to be making or we're making and realizing that we took a lot for granted. I think the real challenge that's really hard for us as partners, especially me, is the team, because all of everybody who works for us are regular employees. We don't employ contractuals. I mean, we really try to give everybody a future, and hopefully through moment they get to live their dreams. Like when people send us pictures of their house that they just bought because of their salaries, one of our chefs or our cooks or a waiter, I mean, I mean, it may seem like that I'm pretending, but I mean, I think that's sometimes even better than a day's profit. It really is, right? So it's very hard to see our people sometimes, like the other day, one of our hosts at the bar, because the bar has been closed for 14 months, texted me and said, hey, do you want to buy a car, Ava, or do we need LPG gas for the restaurants? Because that's my sideline work now while the bar is not open. And it's inspiring to see how strong they are, but it's also crushing to know that they have to do that because we can't provide for them, right? So I think that's been the greatest challenge. But I think the making the money, and the recovery of F&B, that will come in due time. But the waiting for the recovery, and trying your best to keep your team whole is really challenging.
Have you ever had to furlough anybody as a result of this?
Yeah, I mean, for the last 6 weeks, we've had no dine-in until last week. And as I mentioned, dine-in is the bread and butter of the entire industry, whether you're McDonald's, Jollibee, Max Group, or little old us. It is bread and butter. So there's no way we can employ 2,500 people full time. And so everybody is obviously working flexible work arrangements and within the guidelines of what Dole has allowed us. Um, so
Okay,
yeah,
now let me go to your relationship with your mom, okay? Because this is about you and your mom too. So she had a bakery in Kuala Lumpur. I didn't know it was in Kuala Lumpur. Okay, and that also in one of your interviews you said that also inspired you to was one of the inspirations to you being doing this thing with the Moment Group.
I don't know if she'd appreciate this, but my mom could not bake or do anything at all in the
Yeah.
kitchen.
Oh no.
Philippines, right?
Who
Nothing.
was baking and who was
Yeah,
baking?
my mom measures, I mean, literally measures a pinch of salt, right? And she thinks that there's a teaspoon for it. So
You
when
mean
she has a
a pig?
bakery, I know she has a lot of friends who are here now. Like I see them. They laughed when they heard she was starting a bakery. I mean, it was like one for the books, right? So I mean, I think and when we were going when we were studying there, me and Karis, who's my sibling right after me, it was only the two of us at the time. After school, we would hang out in the bakery and like play hide and seek. And she had these huge kitchen aids, like 4 feet tall, and we would hide inside it. But I think, and we loved it. We loved being in the dining room. I mean, Karis not so much, but I mean, but I loved it. I think what we learned out of that is that you can really do whatever you set your mind to, even if you had no skill in it whatsoever. I mean, you can learn that, and I think that's how we do.
So you mean your mom in the end learned how to bake? Is that the lesson to this?
Some of our favorite desserts are stuff that are my mom's recipes, and she'll only make them Christmas or New Year. It's no way she's gonna do it the rest of the year, so we have to wait until December, and we can only have it like, so she'll make a lot, and we'll like bring it to our own homes, and we'll freeze them and keep them there for as long as we can. She also makes an amazing lasagna without pasta sheets, because she ran out of pasta sheets when we lived in Kuala Lumpur, and the only she had was wonton wrappers in the fridge, so she had to make do with that. And to this day we only eat lasagna with wonton wrappers.
So what is your relationship with your mom then? How would you describe it?
Well, growing up, it was hard, right? Because I was such a bad kid.
Oh,
I was
describe
always
that.
I was always getting grounded and staying out too late. so so I'm sure it was very challenging raising me versus my brothers. We used to have a joke that I was easy to give birth to because I was normal, and my brothers are cesarean but hard to raise, and my brothers are easy, hard to give birth to but easy to raise.
And how would you describe her mothering style?
My what? Sorry.
Or style or her
My
mothering style? Well, because it's Mother's Day. Her parenting style, really. Okay, how would you describe it?
my mom was always very strict with us, but in this amazing way. Like growing up, I remember I remember once I went to Europe. It was my high school gift for graduating with all my entire barkada. So we all went. It was amazing, and we had this little all of us had a little allowance. And when I got back to Manila, I mean, we all didn't spend everything, my entire barkada and I. So we all had a little left over, right? And my friend goes, I gave it back to my parents, and they said, congratulations, you saved it, so you can take it now, and you can do whatever you want with it. So I'm like, oh my god, I'm so excited when I tell my mom and my dad that I saved. They're gonna give it to me too. And my mom said, congratulations, you saved it. Okay, now give it back to me, right? And and I remember like, oh, how come my friends get to keep it? But I think that's the amazing thing about my mom and my parents. I mean, they really try to raise us with these principles and morals and values, and teach you the value and the worth of working and being good to others. And then when we became adults, they're like, okay, I've done everything, and now you can go out in the world and do whatever you want. And now my parents, my mom, my dad, they're the least strict people in the world, and my brother will attest to that, because they're so not strict with their grandkids. But even with us, like my mom and my dad will be like, oh, I'd be looking at something like, oh, I wish I could buy that, and but it's maybe not. And my mom would be like, no, go enjoy, just buy it, enjoy your life. I've been in Anilao for a couple of weeks because since the lockdown, there was no dine-in, so I could do all my work on Zoom, and I was getting really guilty being there for so long and not being in Manila. And my mom would always be like, why are you guilty? If it's safe there and it relaxes you, then just stay. Don't be guilty. Enjoy. And so I think that their parenting style, my mom's style, especially as I get older, is something that I will always be appreciative of.
Okay, so and on that note, let's bring her in. I'm sorry,
Okay.
we
I
didn't
said
really.
really good things about you, Mom.
I,
Don't say
I didn't rehearse this. Who am I gonna ask? Is it Aji or is it Bong Jing? Can you bring Fe with us, the three of us on the screen? There. Welcome, Fe. Welcome to our session. So you
Hello.
knew. Okay, hi. Okay, so this is
Hello.
Fe.
Yep.
Fe,
Thanks,
Sese.
Abba. Good daughter.
Okay.
Okay.
So you listen to Abba, how eloquent she is, how confident she's running this business. I mean, that must fill you also with such pride, because I know whenever we speak of her, I mean, just like Maui and M, you guys just are so in love with your daughters. The way, when their names come up, you just really melt, you know. So, I mean, so how does it feel to be listening to this daughter that you raised to be such a confident, mature individual running a business?
Actually, it's not my first time to hear her, no. But it's only once that I watched her live. This is the second actually. But the first one was when I was invited by Boots, no, to watch her give the inspirational speech to graduates, almost 1,000 students in FEU. And but I had to do it secretly because Abba vowed us not to ever watch her live, because she said all her words will be deleted from her mind and so forth and so forth. In short, she doesn't want to see us. So, but I would watch usually interviews, tape, and everything. And so I know how she is. I'm very proud how she has turned out to be. I know she's very eloquent. She's very really super, super dedicated with her job, with her business. And I truly, truly appreciate it because at the end of the day, when Ermil, her dad, and me would talk, our greatest achievements really, and I think all parents, are our children, how they turn out to be, how they grew up, being guided by us. But of course, after some time, they have their own ways. So what she was saying that we tend to be strict or what was really more for us to teach them, teach them how to be independent, how not to rely on us for, let's say, money, not to rely on us that, even if they're married or they're still living with us and all that stuff. So it's really always such fun. You feel so proud, really, and you feel that, like me, I became a full-time mother and wife. I really have no regrets because I don't think I would do better if I were a part-time mom, having worked in an office. So I was very, my only accomplishments really are that my
So
children.
you've got three kids, okay? So you've got Karis, who's an executive director of Goldman Sachs. You've got Marco, who's studying in London. Is it an MBA course?
Yeah.
Is that what he's
London
taking?
Business School, yeah.
Business school, and then you've got Ava here. How did you manage to succeed? I mean, all three of them are all success in their own individual way. How did you manage to raise them this way so that they're all becoming achievers, as well as Maui's kids are all achievers as well? What did you do to, what was your secret formula to get all these three children to become who they are?
I don't really know if it's a secret formula, but from the very beginning, when we were about to to have children, Ermil and I really, sat down and agreed that we were going to really dedicate our lives on building a good family, on raising our children to the best abilities that they can be, So at a very, very young age, we would teach them already, we would instill values, fear of God, love of family, loving, respecting, helping each other, especially the siblings. So, like for example, we would teach them the value of money at a very young age. When Ava was about 4 or 5, no, 7, and the brother was 3, Carius, of course, they would want to go to toy stores or bookstores before we leave. Since there was no occasion, I would tell them already. Remember, Abba, I would tell you, okay, there'll be no buying because there's no special occasion. It's not Christmas, it's not New Year, it's not your birthday. There was nothing that you did extraordinary in school. But you can play, you can read, you can hold the books, you can hold the toys, that's it. But you're not buying anything. So when we got, so agreement, it's an agreement. When we reach the bookstore or the toy store, I watch them and it breaks your heart, like especially Carius, he loves cars. So he would hold a small car, it's so cheap, like this mga Hot Wheels and all that stuff. And he would come to me slowly and he would show it to me and I know what he was driving at. And I would say, oh yes, Carius, because he was only 3 years old. Oh yes, Kay, I used to talk. Yeah, that car is so beautiful. What color is it? Then he'll tell me, how many wheels? Does the front open? Does the hood open? How many doors and all that stuff? Trying to let him forget what he wanted. But after a while, he'll say, Mommy, can I please buy? And then I will say, oops, we had an agreement before we left, right? Do you remember that you agreed that we are not going to buy? Because I said, it is not. And then he will answer. Even Abba is like that. They will be the one to answer. Because it's not Christmas, Mommy. It's not New Year, Mommy. It's not like that. But sometimes it breaks my heart because Hot Wheels is, let's say, $2. But my reason is, as a child, they don't know the value of money. They don't know what's the difference between $2 and $20, So if I give in, I break the promise, I lose, I lose my word, and then I don't teach them what I want them to know, right? So I don't really I stick to what I promised and to our agreement. That's an important thing that you discuss. And when they do something that's, let's say we have a party in the house and someone gets a bit out of tune, I will call them and we walk and talk in the bedroom. I will take them away from the crowd and I will tell them what was so disappointing with what they did, what was wrong and everything. And even if they're very young, because I try to talk in a language that they will understand, I will ask them to repeat. Do you understand what was so disappointing in what you did, especially in front of the people? And then they will try to explain. If they cannot explain it very well, I'll try to help them. I'll try to explain. And at the end of our conversation on the bed, they will say, I'm sorry, Mommy, I'll not do it again. Then they'll hug me. So I said, oh, maybe they understood. But what we wanted was, I wanted them to know that you did something. I want them to know it right away. But I don't want to embarrass them in front of people. So I would bring them up and all, no? And as they were growing up, we taught them how to be independent because we were telling them, at the end of the day, it's your life. It's how you will be. So it's very important. So when they started working like Abba was the first, because before that, everything was free. They were in the house, everything was free. The gasoline, the loads, the everything. So I would tell them, okay, after 3 months that you are working and earning already, you are going to slowly take over some things, right? Like you started very light. It was only the toll, which is very cheap. So, and then gradually, as the months go on, they would already take care of their cell load, of their gas, and so on and so on. And we realized that they learn it. They learn to value. They learn to even strive harder. It's not that we are trying to be so stingy with them or anything. We just want them to be disciplined and learn on their own, how it is. Because it is life. You cannot always depend on us.
Right. So now let me read you a quote. Okay. About mother-daughter relationships. There's one by somebody called Seda Malhotra says, By the time you realize your mother was right, you have a daughter who thinks you're wrong. Has there
Aba,
ever been an
ask
occasion
Caris.
like this is, by the way, this is one of the questions. The reason I chose that quote is because one of the questions asked by the high school students of one of the teachers who's part of this SKA core group is, has there been any kind of source of conflict between the two of you, and how did you resolve it? I mean, it can't have been, always an ideal setup where you love each other, mother daughters, at ages 16, 17, you know what that's like, even for us. So how do you resolve, or were there any, or were there any, and how did you resolve it?
Actually, I don't remember a really serious one, no? Except that I was laughing when I heard Maui say that Ems, or was it Ems who revealed that she would stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning studying. Well, Abba wasn't like that. Abba would stay up 3 and 4 up to 4 o'clock in the morning doing what, Abba? she was partying. She was so she really enjoyed her youth, and it's not really a conflict. It's just the usual mommy maybe reminding the daughter, like, she started very young with her barcadas, who are very, very good children, these barcadas. I still see them, I still talk to them, and everything. And they would go out, as she was in Assumption already when she was in high school. And I think first year, San Mig was a common hangout for them already. And
Oops, I think we've lost your mom.
I think she froze. I know what she's gonna say.
Okay, go on, fill in the blanks.
No, we
there was one time that she went.
Wait, just a sec. We lost you, and Abba was about to say something. Just a second, Fair. Yes, fill in the blanks.
I was gonna get picked up at midnight from a hotel because it was my friend's 18 what do you call debut. So my parents said, okay, we're picking you up in the lobby of the hotel at midnight. But the debut ended at 11 p.m. and everyone was gonna go to San Mig. And I was like, I can't not go. So I said, I'm just gonna go with them, and then I'm gonna walk back at midnight. And there's no cell phone, no nothing. And I completely forgot. I was horrible. I was 18 and it was 1 o'clock, and all of a sudden my friends go, your dad is here in San Mig looking for you. So I mean, if I, being, I'm not a parent, but if I was, I would kill my daughter. I would be freaking out that I couldn't find them without a cell phone. So, and when you're 18, you're just like, whatever, it's not a big deal. And so I think your quote is right. No, you really don't. I mean, that's why life is that way, and you mature a certain way. Like, no matter how hard you make it poke in the head of someone, they have to be a certain age, I guess, where they can realize everything that their parents have done for them, unless they really matured way, way, way earlier than they should have. And so, but it's so great to be able to realize it and see how great my parents have been with us and with my brothers. Like, I think if you meet my brothers, you'll see that they're really amazing people. And, I think, we have our parents to thank for that.
Well, I mean, for instance, for Abba to be running this business, it's no joke to be running it at this point in time where, you're COVID challenged to make ends meet, or to flourish and to make sure that, the business stays afloat for a long time. As a mother, what advice do you give to Abba at this point in time when the business is not as robust as it was pre-COVID?
Actually, it's kind of hard also because Abba is really very, very passionate with what she's doing, super passionate.
I think you might just have to take.
She always wants to achieve something, no?
Yeah.
I actually, it's me and the dad that she always runs to. The dad usually she demands every contract that she has to get to, everything that it's always
Yeah.
It's always the three of us. And
Yeah.
now that it's COVID, she would call, she would text, and I know what she means already. And I would say, you've done a lot. If you feel that you are what you have now is not what you have planned for the year. It's not because of you. It's not because of your partners. It's because of the times, it's not only in the Philippines, it's all over the world. So everybody is getting affected. But you must remember that you are thankful to God. You must trust Him that there's a reason for this. And I'm very happy because with the COVID, she was able to do that MOGO, which is very helpful to her employees, and also that 50 peso per PATS meal, which they donated to frontliners and everything. I think you made about how many meals, Aba? So throughout the pandemic, they made it for free. They were delivering to how many hospitals, health centers, even the construction workers of those small, what do you call that? Those temporary isolation areas and all. And for me, it was their idea, it just came out from them. So it's so noble for me, diba?
Yeah.
It's great. That during that time we will think of those things instead of just thinking of what will we do here, what will happen here and everything, how will we do this with the company and everything. It's really they're more proactive, the group, and we're very proud. We're very, very proud. Yeah.
What about you? So, Abba, for you, with all this experience for the past year, I mean, invaluable experience, because life can't be more difficult than the past year, right? So now you're armed basically to weather as many storms in the months ahead, right? So, what are your plans now? I mean, now that you've experienced this 1 year of COVID, what are your plans against that? What is the Moment Group planning for the next year? And how are you planning? Sorry, are you assuming that that this situation is going to stay for how long? And then you're planning to go back to normal, obviously depending on what the IATF says or what the government says. But what are your forecasting ahead?
Yeah.
How many
I think
for business?
we dialogue with IATF and all the mayors actually on a weekly basis, um, for better or for worse. And so I think we're forecasting to the end of the year, to early next year. I think we've been told that the vaccination rollout in NCR, we're looking at around a 10-month lead time for herd immunity. In terms of the facilities are all available already in the NCR, and it's really just if the vaccine deliveries continue to come on time, then 8 to 10 months for some of the largest cities. So we're planning for another year of this. Um,
And your investors or the people who have given you the
my father,
backing, whatever your plans are.
it's funny thing about Moment is that it's really just the three of us.
Yeah.
There are no other shareholders except from what our parents have
That's good.
helped us with in the past. And so it's really just so if we go into the doghouse, it'll just be the us in the doghouse.
On you, don't worry, we'll have good. I'm
I
sure
need
there
to
will
build
be
a bigger doghouse.
I'm sure there'll be good food in the doghouse.
Yeah. So we are planning for another year of this. I think it's important. One thing my parents taught me is, um, you know, um, um, restructure your expectations
Yeah.
at every turn, and the disparity between expectations and reality is how relaxed and calm or happy you're gonna be. And so we're very pragmatic about our recovery. It's gonna be
Yeah.
slow, but it's gonna come.
Yeah. But when it comes, I'm sure that it will be people are desperate to get out, right? They're desperate to converge, as you say, desperate
If
to
you look at New
meet the
York now, yeah, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, I mean, there's been a wonderful rebound for the consumer space. So we want to hit the ground running, and I think our job is now to survive so we can get to that finish line.
So are you planning? So then, are you planning anything exciting so that when finally the doors open, are you planning being the creative force behind the Moment Group, are you thinking of an after COVID, a post-COVID event moment?
Well, I mean, I think we're not yet there, but I want to throw a big party in the bar. But no, you know, we've created some new brands for COVID. We've created a pancit brand, you know, where we can that
Has
comes
that
in
already, has
sizes.
that already open? I mean, has that already started? Your pancit brand?
Delivery only brand. So I mean, I think what we want to do now is we just kind of want to open in more cities that we're not in and provinces that we never thought we'd enter, because we realize now that, you know, people are moving away also from Metro Manila. Like I know people. I was in La Union a couple of months ago. My friend lives there, and I saw all these people in the coffee shop by the ocean, and they were all working. Their work from home. These young kids who are 25 is now work from the beach, right? Because now you can work anywhere. And so I think that the population of the NCR has now moved into so many different cities around the country, and so we're excited to go there and feed people there. And that wasn't a dream that we had previously, at least not at that rate. So I think it's always nice to find a silver lining and try and go for it. So that's what we're trying to do.
And what would be your advice to these young kids who might want to enter the business, the industry?
You mean food? I think that you
Don't.
no, don't. Yeah, no. Um, I think that it's true what my parents said. There are far easier ways to turn a profit than being in food, and it consumes your whole life. It becomes everything. So if you don't love making people happy, and if it's not in your DNA for hospitality, if it's just I like food and I like wine, maybe it's better off as a hobby, because it's really challenge. It's really hard. It's really consuming. But if you like making people happy and you enjoy that, through food or through whatever it means, there is no more fulfilling business, because you're making money out of making people happy. And I think that's why our industry has survived so much. The people in F&B are amazing people, and also if you want to come into F&B, you got to be ready, because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I find that my peers in F&B are such survivors. It's amazing how when we speak to each other in our groups, that they can still be funny and still laugh even during the worst times. And I think that's really a trait of people in F&B. So yeah, you got to be ready to to swim with a bunch of amazing people, I guess, if you're going to join us after COVID.
Okay. And on that note, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Thank you also, Fair, for sharing your love and for your daughter with the rest of us. Thank you. I think as it's already almost midday, we'll have a little Q&A, because there were people who were actually asking questions, and I just said that, you know, I really don't want to interrupt our flow of the conversation, so somebody else, Luz, will take over from that. I'll hand over to Luz before I do my conclusion. Maybe do you mind just staying on just for a few minutes? I'm not sure whether Emmy's actually in somewhere out of town. I don't know whether she stayed, because I told her we might be doing this at 11 o'clock. But anyway, it's been such a fun conversation, and I hope the audience also feels the same way. Maybe you can bring everybody back in. Aji, Anilu, please. And then if you can open up the floor for questions, then I'm happy. Luz, it's over to you before you give.
Thank you very much, Em and Maui, Abba and Fe and Maria, of course, for such inspiring conversations. We now open the line for your questions. Before that, let me just read some comments. Now, we would welcome Manam in the US, introduce Filipino food with flair. For those abroad, they're very much interested. And there's this question about how do they order online? That's the question from G. Ampil.
I think I put it out there. There's many ways you can go to Grab. You can order from the Grab app or the Food Panda app or the Pickaroo app, or you can support our chefs, our singing chefs and waiters, and order from www.momentfood.com. Yeah, those are the ways. Or you can call us on our hotline, and we can also deliver for you. you'll find us on IG. Our IG handle is Moment Group, and you'll find all of the hotline numbers there.
All right. Thank you. Any other question? Splendid repartee. Chris mentioned. You're right, Maria. It's a fun conversation. We have some comments here, like from Luchi and Tip Tip Pandillo. Salute to you, mothers Maui and Fe, M and Abba. We are so proud of you.
I have a friend, by the way, who's
Mhm.
just texted me. I don't know whether I'm still around. No, I've been muted. Can you unmute?
We
Okay.
can hear you. We can hear you, Maria.
There's a comment here from a friend, Noemi Azura, who says she's with Insular Life. During pandemic, we buy takeout from Manam in Molito. Our fave is watermelon sinigang. When in BGC, we go to Din Tai Fung. So you've got fans in the audience. Anyway, back to you, Luz. Sorry.
Yeah, Melinda said, hats off to you, Abba. Despite the business downturn over the pandemic, you've managed to reach out and help the frontliners and your out-of-work crew earn honorably. That's interesting. Okay, so we also have Manam is a favorite of Tetis, Nico, Aji, Beatrice. So they're really looking forward to eating at Manam.
Thank you. I'd love to
But
host
by
you
the way,
all.
Abba's dad is a good cook and her mom bakes well too, sabi ni Luchi.
By the way, is M still with us? M? No. Okay. No, because
Okay.
she was supposed to join us. But anyway, never mind. It's okay. But thank you very much
Hi,
anyway.
Tita. I'm here.
Hi, hello, M.
There,
Maybe
okay,
ask a
good.
question, Luz. Ask M. M, thank you so much for joining us from wherever you are, but we're envious. Okay, so wherever she is, we're envious because she's in a beach somewhere. Beach, see. Hello, hi, M. I'd like you to meet our two other guests here. Abba, whom she's not met you, so you've not met M either as well. And there's Fe, obviously.
Hi, Tita.
I am.
Okay.
Happy
So,
birthday. Happy birthday.
happy birthday to
Hello,
Maui.
happy birthday.
Maui here with us, Maui, maybe.
She is.
Why don't you bring Maui in too?
She is.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is now this is the impromptu side. Okay, with unplanned. Okay. Sorry, Luz. Back to you. There's Maui. Okay. Good. Okay. So we're a complete group. Any questions for Maui and M while they are on board? And thank you for waiting. By the way, we hope you enjoyed the session from wherever you are.
Okay, this is a question for all of you. How will you spend Mother's Day tomorrow?
Okay, let's start with Maui. Maui, how are you gonna spend your Mother's Day tomorrow?
So, well, we are here in Tagaytay right now, and we'll just have a quiet day and order takeout, and relax. Just have a relaxing day because we have to stay safe.
Wait, does Manam deliver to Tagaytay or not?
I don't. I think our furthest one is in Alabang. That's closest there, so not yet.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. But there are amazing restaurants there, so you shouldn't have a hard time finding something for takeaway.
Okay, and well, M is a mother as well, so we should ask her how she's going to spend. We will all be envious if she answers this question. M, how are you going to celebrate your Mother's Day celebration tomorrow?
We'll have a dinner, just a dinner, and we'll be having some activities in the beach. So
We're so sad. We're feeling very sad for you, by the way. Actually, we're envious. Okay. All right. And anything else? What about you, Fair? What are you doing tomorrow?
You're asking me or you're asking Abba and my boys? Abba, darling, what are you going to do to mommy?
Abba, what are you? I know. I'm gonna ask
Forbade us
Abba.
from seeing her.
Abba, what are
My
you
mom
doing?
has forbade us from going over to the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, they're getting their second vaccine tomorrow, so she doesn't want to jinx it. So we're just gonna have a Zoom as
Okay,
usual.
especially with the boys.
Are you
With
sending
Emilio and Francesco.
Are you sending her special food or something from where from one of your restaurants?
My dad is a great cook, so I don't think I can beat him. So knowing him, he'll want to cook for her, which he always does.
All
Up to
right.
you, Luz. Sorry.
Thank you very much to those who sent their comments, their questions. And may I give back the line to you, Maria, Maui, and
Okay.
Fe, and of course, for your final thoughts.
Okay. First of all, really, really thank you. Thank you to all of you, to the four of you, for making this an enjoyable session. This is actually the last of our two sessions that we're doing. The batch 70 group is doing for the STAA. As you know, the title of our session is Daughters Rock, Mothers Too, because as you can see, both daughters and mothers are stars in equal portion in our Mother's Day session. Our original premise was daughters rock, mothers too. But maybe there's another assumption we are drawing here. Daughters rock because their mothers help them rock. The late American Maya poet Maya Angelou once said, "To describe my mother would be to write about a hurricane in its perfect power, or the climbing, falling colors of a rainbow." I think this aptly describes Maui and Fe, and the success of their daughters are a testament of their accomplishment as mothers. I am in awe of them and their daughters too, Em and Abba. And I hope at the end of this session, so are you. Happy Mother's Day. But before I say goodbye, as this is the last, as I said, two sessions that we promised to do for the STAA, I want to say thank you to Ye, to Luz, to Annie, and the rest of the team of the Alumni Association for allowing us to host these sessions. But most of all, can you bring Marisa Go in, please, who encouraged my ideas, cajoled and charmed her way into having sessions approved by the Batch 70 Core Group by the STAA. Is she here, Maris? There. She's my sparring partner in putting this session together. So I would like to say thank you to her, and I would like to say thank you to everybody once and for all. Happy Mother's Day. Happy birthday to the birthday celebrants, Em and Maui. Happy Mother's Day to everybody, and thank you. Thank you from the bottoms of our hearts for taking part in this session. Happy Mother's Day, and please all stay safe. See you all again sometime. Hopefully face to face in the near future.
Maria, before you go, and to everyone here, please accept my apologies. Because we
Hang on, where are you? Yeah. Oh, there's Yai.
We were not able to accommodate everyone to this forum. We're very sorry that it's not enough. So, but I take responsibility, and I solemnly promise that all future events will have a backup, and or either we don't hold them. So, for those who
what we can do, if we have a record of whoever tried to get in, we can just send them the recording of the session.
we will have it posted on our website, and we'll send them the link, Maria.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for those who don't know, the class of high school 7 pays very generous funds, and it's really a partnership that we have with them together with the ICM Sisters feeding program of Pagkain sa Araw-Araw. And please be comforted to know that your donation will go to their feeding program, and many hungry children will be fed using the loving hands of our sisters who actually cook them in the Meister kitchen. And your support will allow us to fund this feeding program until February to March of 2020. And so at this point, I'd like to call Sister Cora Sastre, the Provincial Superior of the ICM, who asked to allow her to give some parting messages to everyone. Sister Cora.
And maybe while waiting for her to come in, yeah, I would like to just, because we're so proud of it, the two sessions that we did, the batch 70 core group sponsored two sessions. One was with Ryan Kayabyab, and the other one is this one with you, with the daughters and the mothers. We had raised almost 500,000 pesos for the fund. We're 50,000 short. So if there's anybody here, we're still trying. No, we're actually about 47,000 short. So if there's anybody here who would like to donate some more money, please don't hesitate to put more money. We'd like to hit 500,000 for this funds for the nuns. I'm say yes, no. So over to you again.
All right, I can see Sister Cora. She's fanning herself. Sister Cora, hello.
Hello, Yay, and everyone. Good noon. Nabubusog ako sa pakikinig no, sa ating mothers and daughters. Ang ganda-ganda talaga. I learned so much. So, good noon to our STC alumni mothers and daughters, their families and friends, and our very inspiring mother-daughter pairs. Aba and Fe, Ems and Maui, and our hosts, Maria, Luz, our passionate organizers of the talks, class 1970, Maris Go is there also, and the STCQC board led by Yai and my fellow ICM sisters. Thank you very much for this event. Talagang nag-enjoy ako. So we, the ICM sisters, count it a blessing that our dear alumni are strongly connected with us as partners in God's mission in this most challenging time of our story as a people. You know, before the pandemic, meron na kaming connection sa STC QC Alumni Association, but it was not that strong. But what is beautiful also about this pandemic is that it has brought us together. And it has made the connection even stronger as partners in God's mission. And now, every time we see visions and hear experiences of hungry brothers and sisters this time of pandemic, what I imagine is that each of our heart, the seed of our core values of deep love for God and passion for God's mission is stirred. Parang na-stir yun. And that heart becomes a wellspring where empathy, kindness, generosity, at the same time pain and anger, they well up. And they are translated into passionate actions to help the needy. As mothers and daughters, we know that whenever we pray, give us today our daily bread, us does not only mean our small circle of loved ones and families, but as mothers and daughters, we know that this us extends to the margins of society. It is broader than what we can ever imagine. At the threshold of Mother's Day celebration, we wish to thank you, dear women, mothers, daughters, sisters, for mobilizing yourselves to help the poor and the hungry. You have helped us so much in the feeding program. Thank you, especially to class 1970. And you have also, many of our donors for our community pantry. Today we have served 300 and 100 of whom are tricycle drivers. Many of them are our very own alumni of SCCQC and Manila. And friends, but majority kayo talaga yon. So thank you really for contributing to this. For the feeding program, it is already a year that we have started it, and we really thank the SCCQC Alumni Board for helping us. Without them, we would have really folded our tent already kasi naubos na yung aming funds for that. Thanks for the partnership. And also, I was so touched by the stories of M and also Aba, how they have helped the others. Naluluha nga ako doon yung story na when you see your people, your employees having lost their jobs, it is really very painful. And this feeding program and this pantry are really ways of reaching out those who have not much in life. Ako, naiiyak na ako, ano? Because I see them every day. They line up and talagang, my heart really goes out to them. So thank you very much for that. And also for those who are into empowering people, either through education, livelihood, justice, peace. So all these, you have really contributed largely to our society. So dear Theresians and your families, thank you. So we see, that when mothers and daughters unite, miracles happen and life abounds. So you are truly the daughters of your mothers. I also remember my own mother today as I was listening to the mothers and the daughters. And also it reminds me of our very own mother foundress, Marie-Louise de Meester, who said, let your heart be that like of Christ's, so generous and so great that the whole world may find room in it. And that world is suffering now. So let that world stay in our hearts. So happy Mother's Day. Thank you once again, and God bless all of you and your families. So
Thank
we
you
the
very
sisters,
much, Sister
with the
Cora.
sisters,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. So thank you once again to our guests, Maui Aglipay and M. Villar and Fe and Aba Napa, for spending your morning with us. We also appreciate the presence of our students in St. Teresa's College. Thank you for joining us. I'm pretty sure you have learned a lot from these conversations. Our appreciation also goes to our wonderful host for this session, Miss Maria Ronson. Thank you very much. And of course, her husband, Terence Ronson, for the technical support. Let me just extend also our thanks to Marisa Go for really helping us build this session and the previous session. Also for Mel Manahan for the design of our invites. We also really appreciate how you have helped us do the fundraising event for our ICM sisters for their feeding program Pagkain sa Araw-Araw. So in behalf of the Learning and Development team of STCAA, we have Nico, Bongging, Kankan, Aji, Anilu, plus of course our chairperson Yai Reventar. We thank everyone for joining us in today's event. I am Luz Mercurio for TERE Talks. Enjoy your weekend, everyone.
Happy Mother's Day, everyone.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. See you tomorrow, Mom.